The current economic slump in China is exerting significant pressure on brick-and-mortar businesses. On April 15th, a restaurant owner voiced his dismay through a video, lamenting that this year has been the toughest he has faced in over a decade, whether in online or offline sales. Despite not employing promotions or giveaways, he reported receiving only about 20 orders from morning till that point. He expressed a sense of futility, stating that no amount of skill or comprehensive business strategies could counteract the negative effects of such a challenging economic climate. The retail environment across China is facing widespread challenges. Malls are empty, stores are closing, and distress is evident among physical storefronts nationwide. On April 17th, the owner of a curtain shop in Haining posted a video depicting eerily quiet streets and shuttered stores, highlighting the stark reality for physical retailers. He shared his despair over recurring rent payments amidst a lack of foot traffic in business, questioning the viability of continuing his operations. This sentiment is shared by many in the retail sector. One shop owner, Xi'an, commented that he's been facing sleepless nights due to a significant drop in sales, struggling to sustain his business after more than a decade. Another owner, Leo Dda, mentioned that this year's customer scarcity has led to a sales decline of at least 25% compared to the previous year. On April 21st, a clothing store owner in Xi'an released a video warning about the dire state of apparel retailers, urging potential entrepreneurs to reconsider opening new stores. Highlighting the severe lack of customer engagement, he predicted dire outcomes if the situation does not improve soon. The widespread economic distress is affecting all corners of the retail market, including supermarkets. On April 19th, a supermarket owner from a county in Xi'an articulated the deep economic downturn's impact in a video. She described a debilitating cycle where poor sales lead to unsold inventory and difficulties in stocking new products, exacerbating the situation further. These narratives paint a grim picture of the retail landscape in China during this economic downturn, indicating a situation that might be even more challenging than the retail environment during the pandemic. The prevailing advice among seasoned business owners is to hold off on new ventures in this uncertain market, underscoring the severity of the economic challenges faced by those dependent on physical retail operations. For instance, the subpar performance at our local supermarket has resulted in a vicious cycle where sales personnel are unable to restock efficiently, leading to reduced sales and leaving suppliers with a surplus of expiring products. Recently, we received condiments that were already a year beyond their expiration dates, despite having typical shelf lives of 18 months to 2 years. Beverages delivered were marked from previous months, with some dating back to last August or October, and these items are typically viable for only a few months. In some cases, managers or sales staff have instructed to just place these nearly expired products on the shelves and sell whatever possible. Additionally, unsold gift boxes from the previous New Year have accumulated, contributing to a bloated inventory of unsold items. During the recent New Year celebrations, fewer people were buying gifts, leading to a significant surplus that we couldn't return because they were unlikely to sell elsewhere. The strain from this inventory glut is palpable and adds to the overall stress of operating under such conditions. In previous years, I could rely on tobacco sales to bolster daily revenues and attract more customers, but even those sales are down this year. The pricing adjustments and lower consumer spending have made it challenging to generate profit, leaving me to wonder about the viability of continuing operations in such a stressful environment. On April 18th, a commentator known as the Lecturing Frog from the Hainan Writers Association highlighted the broad economic challenges through a video. He pointed out that since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic in early 2020 and its prolonged impact, coupled with the Chinese government's strict adherence to a zero-COVID policy, extreme lockdown measures have been imposed across various regions. This approach has severely hampered China's economy, particularly affecting the retail sector, which has seen irreversible damages. According to data from Xi'an Business, in 2022, nearly 7,000 retail outlets shuttered across various sectors, including 1,138 supermarkets, 35 department stores, and hundreds of restaurants, beauty shops, and clothing stores. In the first half of 2023, an additional 8,181 retail establishments closed, ranging from supermarkets and convenience stores to clothing shops and food service providers. Major retail chains from Carrefour to Walmart, as well as local entities like Sun.com, Bingen and Peachburg were among those affected by closures. Post-pandemic, instead of the vigorous recovery anticipated by both Chinese officials and international observers, China has been grappling with high unemployment rates, weak domestic demand, and persistent difficulties in the real estate sector. These issues continue to stifle economic growth, contradicting expectations of a swift rebound and placing further strain on an already beleaguered retail landscape. The Chinese government has enforced stringent controls on public discourse concerning economic matters, as reported in the media. An article by a commentator named Wab highlighted the necessity of revitalizing the real estate sector to bolster domestic demand. He pinpointed the downturn in real estate as a key structural issue contributing to weak domestic demand and offered 5 recommendations for governmental action. These included specific legal reforms related to property taxes and tenures, lowering mortgage rates to make housing more affordable, eliminating price control measures, and enforcing policies known as the 3 Arrows. Designed to open financing avenues for domestic property development, introduced in November 2022. Wab's proposals, however, were met with resistance and quickly suppressed. His arguments, which stirred public debate, were criticized for spreading negative views, particularly about unemployment rates, and allegedly undermining market security. This led to his banishment from public forums for allegedly violating regulations, as noted in a security update. In an interview with Radio Free Asia, economist Chen Song from the United States supported Wab's viewpoints, stating that his article accurately portrayed the dire situation of the Chinese economy. Chen referenced another article discussing how experts who align solely with government perspectives are widely distrusted by the populace. Chen observed that Wab's commentary was not extreme but simply rephrased existing reports in his own words. The critique of unemployment rates, alongside the sensitive topic of real estate reform, were significant factors in the backlash Wab faced. In his channel, Wab posted an article titled "Support Those Who Provide Employment," where he explored the dual nature of China's unemployment issue. He described it as both a reality, marked by an industrial recession and a lack of private investment leading to consumer hesitancy, and an illusion, where rural areas' inability to absorb surplus labor masked the true unemployment figures. Historically, economic downturns every decade have led to unofficial layoffs among migrant workers, obscuring real unemployment rates, but this traditional buffer is diminishing. The impact of pandemic restrictions on physical retail stores is undeniable, but China's economic struggles predated COVID-19 and were only exacerbated by the ensuing lockdowns. According to the National Bureau of Statistics, from January to September 2023, national supermarket sales fell by 0.4% compared to the previous year, with disappointing sales also reported during the typically busy Golden Week in October. A survey by the China Chain Store and Franchise Association of 47 supermarket enterprises showed that more than half faced declining sales, an unprecedented event in over 3 decades of supermarket development. With the Chinese economy on the brink of widespread deflation and domestic demand remaining low, these challenges pose a substantial threat to the nation's economic stability in 2024. In 2022, following a major economic conference initiated by the late Premier Li Chang, political commentator Zhen Yong'an, considered one of Xi Jinping's economic advisors, penned an article outlining 10 strategies to revive China's economy. This piece, which critiqued the economic policies of the Chinese Communist Party, including the alarming outflow of capital and the entrapment of private entrepreneurs by pandemic-related supply chain and cash flow crisis, was swiftly censored. Zhen's article brought to light the severity of the challenges facing China, emphasizing the need for comprehensive reforms to stabilize and stimulate the economy. Newly taken drone footage over Guangxi has revealed the expansive, yet now largely empty, Foxconn Industrial Park in Nanning. Observations from a local highlighted the vast resources once required by the park, such as 60 tons of rice, 280 pigs, 1.2 million eggs, and 80,000 chickens daily, to support its workforce. The dining area was equipped to serve 12,000 workers at once, and the facility boasted a workforce of 50,000 at its peak. Amidst scrutiny, this manufacturing titan has shifted its production to Vietnam, a move that mirrors a national trend affecting other Foxconn facilities and illustrates the volatile nature of even robust industrial operations. In 2010, Foxconn and the Ning High-Tech Industrial Park invested 2.5 billion yen to set up the Nanning Fugu Precision Industry Company, which started manufacturing tablets, smartphones, GPS devices, high-end routers, and network switches in 2011. By 2019, the venture had generated almost 42 billion yen in revenue. Foxconn's influence rapidly transformed Ning from an obscure, underdeveloped area into a crucial export hub, creating upwards of 100,000 jobs directly and indirectly. Yet this boom was transient. Although the facility significantly boosted Ning's GDP, it played a minor role in Foxconn's broader strategy in China and was not fully utilized. In line with Apple's strategy to reduce its manufacturing footprint in China, the Ning plant was among the first slated for reduction in 2020. This led to the transfer of some production lines for iPads and MacBooks to Vietnam, hastening the decline of the Ning facility, which now stands nearly deserted. On a recent visit, a local woman noted the removal of signs for the Foxconn Commerce and Trade City signs that had been visible just last month. With the majority of operations moved to Vietnam, only a small number of employees remain, rendering the local streets empty and the nearby real estate, though ready for occupancy, difficult to sell. The once vibrant demand driven by a large workforce has disappeared, eroding the appeal of investing in local housing. The situation in Guo parallels that of Nanning. The factory located in the Guan-Nu area, one of Foxconn's 9 major plants in China and a major draw for investment since 2014, peaked with over 30,000 employees and produced an annual output of 100 billion yen in 2018, making it Guo's largest business. It attracted a young, stable workforce and spurred growth in surrounding service industries. Nevertheless, production has ceased, with machinery relocated to Vietnam and India, leaving behind enormous vacant buildings and triggering economic decline in Guo. With the absence of substantial manufacturing operations like Foxconn, local wages have stagnated, compelling many residents who are unable to move due to personal commitments to accept lower-paying local jobs. Foxconn's significant downsizing and withdrawal from mainland China are closely linked to Apple's strategic shifts. Recent market analyses show a stark decline in Apple's smartphone market performance in China, with a 19% drop in shipments in the first quarter of the year, representing its worst performance since 2020. Despite price reductions, sales continue to decline. As Foxconn reduces its footprint, the effects are felt across local economies and industries, prompting concerns about the future employment prospects and economic stability of the regions that once thrived under its influence. In the initial 6 weeks of 2024, data from the International Data Corporation underscored a peculiar trend. While the global smartphone market was rebounding, Apple's iPhone shipments in the first quarter experienced an approximate 10% decline. This slump was predominantly due to setbacks in the Chinese market, which ranks as Apple's largest market outside the United States. The noticeable decline in iPhone sales during China's Lunar New Year shopping period can largely be attributed to governmental measures and stiff competition from Huawei. Reports from US media in September disclosed that the Chinese government had widened prohibitions on iPhone usage within government-supported institutions and state-owned enterprises. From 2 months ago, several governmental bodies across at least 8 provinces were reported to have directed their staff to transition to domestic brands. Huawei intensified the competition last August with the launch of its Mate 60 smartphone, supported overtly by extensive media campaigns and covertly by substantial backing from Chinese authorities, significantly enhancing its market presence and impinging on Apple's segment in the high-end market. Ivan Lam, an analyst from Counterpoint Research, commented in a press release that Apple's sales were dampened during the quarter as Huawei's resurgence has notably affected Apple's foothold in the premium market segment. Furthermore, the demand for Apple's replacements has also seen a mild decrease compared to previous years. Political commentator Lin Li points to multiple factors nudging Apple to relocate its supply chain out of mainland China, including the Chinese government's endorsement of Huawei, diminished consumer spending within China, and intensifying trade tensions between the US and China. Recent extensive travels to India and Southeast Asia by Apple CEO Tim Cook signal a strategic redirection. Despite potential negative impacts on China's economy from expelling foreign brands, the Chinese government appears to be neglecting these possible consequences in its strategy to counter US policies. On April 15, Tim Cook started a series of visits to several Southeast Asian countries, including Vietnam and Indonesia. During his stay in Hanoi, Cook met with Vietnamese Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh and disclosed plans to ramp up Apple's investment in Vietnam and enhance expenditures on local suppliers within this key Southeast Asian manufacturing hub. Apple has already been manufacturing various products in Vietnam, such as AirPods and the Apple Watch. Last December, Apple shifted some of its iPad production from China to Vietnam, with major suppliers like Foxconn and Luxshare fortifying their supply chains there. Official reports note that since 2019, Apple has invested $16 billion in manufacturing operations in Vietnam. Upon concluding his visit to Vietnam, Cook arrived in Jakarta on April 16, where he met Indonesian President Joko Widodo. Although Apple currently has no manufacturing facilities in Indonesia, it has committed $98 million to opening 3 Apple developer academies in the country, which provide courses in coding, design, marketing, and project management to cultivate iOS app development skills. A 4th academy was recently inaugurated in Bali, included in Cook's itinerary. The Joko Widodo administration has shown a steadfast commitment to attracting manufacturing to bolster economic development. During their meeting, Widodo expressed optimism that Indonesia could become a key component of Apple's supply chain. Cook acknowledged Indonesia's significant investment potential and expressed serious consideration of establishing production facilities there should Apple decide to expand its production bases in the future. The geographical proximity of Southeast Asia to China provides a strategic advantage for relocating supply chains and facilitates rapid transportation of certain components that cannot be moved elsewhere, offering Apple opportunities for cost reduction. Chris Miller, an associate professor at Tufts University, noted that in response to China's economic deceleration and the government's drive to prefer domestic brands over foreign entities, Apple is actively exploring alternative manufacturing strategies. Cook's visits underscore Apple's growing focus on Southeast Asia, reflecting the company's intent to expand investments in Vietnam and explore manufacturing possibilities in Indonesia.